Evening. I feel a little bit like Daniel in the lion's den tonight. I recognize that I'm probably not doing myself a lot of favors by being up here. Nonetheless, I'm going to do my best to give you the information best that I can. I do support the alternative approval process that's presently going on, according to the amount of money that we want to borrow. It's a great process, it makes our country great. There are two groups of people out in the lobby, and there's a group that will take your signature afterwards if you've decided that you do not want the city to borrow money. If you've already signed it, there's a group out there who will let you sign a piece of paper if you've changed your mind and take your name off the list. So we are looking after everything here, apparently. Thank you for showing up tonight. It shows that in spite of the fact that you might not agree where this parkade should go, you all agree that this is a great city and you want to be involved, and that is fantastic. Denis and I are very good friends, so we will not be putting on boxing gloves. So if that's why you came, I'm sorry to disappoint you. 2005, the city did a parking review, and they found out that in the previous 10 years, the demand had increased by 385 stalls, and the supply had declined by 222. At that time, property managers were claiming that business was leaving downtown, because there was no parking for employees. 2006, we did the city center plan, and I know a lot of you here tonight were part of that, as was I. A couple things came out of that. Said we needed more parking for Interior Savings Center, and there was a need to connect First Avenue and Lorne Street, as well as connectivity between the park and the downtown core. 2009, another study. We studied this a lot. 3M did the study. They said, you know what, you have enough parking downtown. People are lazy, and they don't want to walk a block, but you have enough stalls. However, the stalls are all full of employees who are working downtown. So you've got the stalls, now you need to create parking for employees. 2011, today. Well, the problem is bigger than ever. It's estimated that 25% of available leasing space in the downtown core is vacant. There's also an estimate that the property that is above the main floor, so office spaces, etc., in the big buildings, the vacancy is around 40%. Property managers are having a very difficult time renting that space because of lack of parking. We're losing businesses, and a couple of years or more are going up on the hill because they need a place for parking. The current demand for monthly spots is $250. That's our last count. However, the casino just decided that rather than allowing some monthly parkers to use the parking lot behind 540, that they wanted to have those stalls for their customers. So there is no more monthly parking behind 540, Hotel 540. So that 250 is probably just jumped again. Now, based on very conservative growth, and if we meet our target of increasing transit users to the downtown core by 30%, by that I mean that we desire to have 30% more people who are driving downtown, 30% of people who are presently driving to work downtown take the bus. Based on that, we still, over the next 10 years, are going to need another 300 parking stalls on top of the 250 that we need today. City of Kamloops and the staff have looked at 10 different sites approximately over the last 10 years. None of them have panned out. Lots of reasons why. And that man's telling me I'm not talking loud enough. Okay, sorry. Lorne Street may not be the perfect spot. And it really isn't the perfect spot. I doubt that there is a perfect spot for a parkade. However, in my humble little opinion, I think it would work out very well for our needs today and over the next 5 years. Number one, It's city-owned. We purchased it. You purchased it. In 1980 and 1981, it had a couple of old houses on it. City purchased it because people were saying, we need parking if we're going to use the park. So it was purchased for park, and it was paved. It would be multi-use. Gone are the days when you've got a parkade that is used Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and it sits empty at night and on the weekends. This would be a 24/7 operation as long as there's events in the park, weekends, evenings, and of course at Interior Savings Center. It's the perfect shape to minimize cost. Most city lots are 120 deep, and unfortunately that necessitates putting in angled parking, which reduces the amount of stalls that you can put in by 40%, and the price goes up accordingly. That lot down there is a lot deeper. Putting a parkade on Lorne Street would give us an opportunity to do a really lovely defined park entrance, which we really don't have today. It would allow 500 square meters more of green space. And it would give us a friendly pedestrian Lorne Street showcasing our park. And we did ask for public input on the plan and then changed the design to address the top concerns. First, the height. So we took a floor off. Now the top level will be lower than the existing lot is today. Basically, we're going to put a lot of underground parking under the existing lot, which is also going to drop. People were concerned we were taking away green space. We're actually putting parking under existing, and we're adding 500 square meters of green. Safety. It's too dangerous down there. Well, this is a beautiful design. There's no ramps, which means that during the night when it's not busy down there, we can put a gate across that bottom level. The top level will be nice and bright and visible. We have a glass elevator and stairs so nobody can hide. Heritage House users will be able to park there and walk undercover safely directly into their building. People were concerned about the cost. $8 million, that's a lot of money. $700,000 of that is to do landscaping improvements around the Parkade and Heritage House. With revenues and a 50% increase in parking meter fees downtown, that parkade will virtually break even. We've projected a shortfall of $10,250 per year. Now let's say that we're way off, and it's triple that, 30,000 some odd. But we have about 30,000 households in this city, which means that each household would pay approximately $1 per year. And I know it's $1, but think about it. Every household in this city pays $62 a year so that people can ride the bus. That's how much you put forward there. We were also told that the city should encourage alternative forms of transportation, and I think we do a fantastic job of that. Whenever the provincial government, BC Transit, has said, would you like more service, we've always said yes. We've never turned it down. And we have a model transit system. We're held up all over the province as being very efficient and highly used. As homeowners, you will pay $3.2 million this year and $3.7 next year to transit. As well, we are putting $500,000 every year into bike paths and $500,000 every year into walking paths. A lot of money for alternative forms of transportation. We've heard that the location is wrong, nobody will use it, you'll never fill it up. So we actually kind of listen to that. You know, maybe they're right. Maybe the demand isn't so high. Another good reason to take a floor off. As far as it being across the tracks, the Scoops lot, which is also across the tracks, was always full with a waiting list. We also have monthly parking down behind the keg and down into the park even further than this proposed spot. So it will be used, I believe. We have an outstanding downtown. And if we don't support it and allow it to grow, we're going to lose it. So I urge you to give us a parkade. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Not to speak red.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to yell. Hope you don't think this is amateur hour because I've never done this in this debate content before. So, but to me, this issue isn't about I mean, we could argue that point of whether we need a parkade or not, but tonight, I think that the reason people are mostly signing this petition is it's about the location. The issue is really, it's, yelling louder. Okay. The issue is a parkade at the park. That to me is the critical point that we need to discuss today, and I would have rather have this discussion earlier before the council proceeded so far into this, but we are here today. So I know some of the people in the city are feeling that they're not really fully engaged with the process, and I think that's another issue too that we have to address as a council. And to me, when you engage in an effective public consultation process, we don't end up with situations like this where you know, there is, at this point, there's a strong possibility that this counter petition could succeed, depending on which side you're looking at. I just think that the way I've seen it is that we haven't addressed, there's something to me that there's a, I looked at the 8 proposals that were put in front of us, not including, the city did approach Mr. Goulardi, and apparently he turned it down. So, but the other 8 proposals, there's 4 to 5 of them that just don't make sense in the sense of the size is way too small. The city knew going into that, I think it was Jim Thompson's Bank of Montreal lot. It's a small footprint for a parkade, and it was something like $45,000 the study that he did per stall. This one here that we're doing is $27,000 a stall, because there's a cost implications, obviously, with the ramping when you go small. So my objection is that I don't believe that the city fully looked at all the possibilities. I went to the Canadian Inn, I talked to them, they had never talked to the city. I talked to the owner of the property on Seymour Street, and he was not approached by the city, which is I think it's a 200-foot frontage lot. So that there's certain lots that, as a business owner, if I was setting up a parkade as a business, I would have approached those people, because to me, in a business sense, the #1 rule is always location, 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 and the park across Lorne Street, whether it is even in the park or not, is not a good location if we're addressing issues of retail shopping and employee parking. So, because it is quite a step, and there's a railway barrier there that will cause problems, and I have a concern about the financial implications. That if we need to, there's 348 stalls. The projections are that we would lease 267 of those stalls, because we have to save 81 for the park use. So 267 at $79 a stall. When Impark's highest rate right now is $77 for a flat lot stall in a prime location, right in the core of the downtown, the best location that you have access to everywhere. Plus you get 24 hours. You get to go to the events, you get to go to hockey games, you get to park there on weekends. Where this parkade, you are going to have to leave at 6 p.m. So how, I have a problem with the economics to say that we're going to be able to have a revenue generated of a full parkade at a higher price. And I know it'll be 2 years approximately, I suspect, to build it. So the rates may go up a little bit. But there's a problem there with the economics of it. And if there is any shortfall, even like if it's only rented half, that represents about $130,000 or thereabouts to the taxpayer that's going to have to subsidize that parkade. So I think it's, you know, not the #1 reason I would never consider it is it's because it's nibbling away at the parkland. And I think we have to start looking at our parkland a heritage. You know, it's to me, just like we look at our heritage buildings. You know, it's when it's gone, it's gone. We'll never get parkland back again. So we should be grateful that the people before us saved that park to that extent now, and we should be fighting tooth and nail to keep it. So we've already nibbled away certain areas. We just, I think it was 2005, a big chunk of parkland, which has, and I asked about getting it back in, and it was the waterfront proposal, so it's behind the Riverside Coliseum between the water. That was a huge chunk. That was parkland, and it was zone C9, which is designated as a new zoning for hotel convention center, I think it is. So, but the waterfront hotel idea fell apart, but the parkland that was taken away was never put back in. And then we've nibbled away at, there's the 2141 Heritage, which has just taken a very small footprint of parkland. And I mean, you could look at that. You know, there's just, to me, it's, that's the critical issue here, is that putting a parking garage in what I say is a parkland, and there's a dispute because it's a parkade, but it is designated for park use. That's what it was expropriated, I think, in 1980 officially, and for park use. And I don't believe this mixed-use commercial employee parking parkade is what is considered park use. So I am in disagreement with council on that too. So so there's certain areas that I think, because even the tennis courts that you'll be aware of, the ones on the west end of the Riverside Park, they were at one point parking lot, and they were turned into tennis courts. So even though it's a parking lot, it could be eventually used for a park use. So it's maybe asphalt today, but that doesn't mean 10 years, 20 years down the road, it could be some other use. So that's the main point of this whole argument in my case, is that it should not be, we should not be whittling away at our parkland. And above all, I believe the parkade is on the wrong side of the tracks. That if you're going to service the employees even, and especially try to get retail daily parking, then it should be in a prime location, somewhere in the downtown core. And I really think we could have, and another thing on the economics of it, that's city-owned land. Well, we had a piece of city-owned land with the Scoops lot. We sold that, it was 140, 180 stalls. We sold it for the hotel. We made, as a city revenue, $2.25 million. So what, now we say, oops, Scoops, oops, we should never have sold it, because we all of a sudden realized that we can't do without this parking. So we should have taken that $2.25 million and went and bought a proper lot in a proper location on the south side of the railroad tracks. I'm not sure my time. A couple minutes. So basically on that end of it, and then so on the shortfall of it too, I guess if I want to talk about the original parkades, when we, if we were building a parkade in the downtown area, I too also would think that it should be subsidized by the businesses in the downtown, not by the general population. They're like we did a business tax levy to build the other two parkades, I'm told. So to me, the subsidizing of wherever this current parkade could go should be done by the business community, or to me we have which people might not be aware, we have a central business district zoning that doesn't provide, the developers do not have to provide parking. So you can build, technically you could build a 9-story building behind the Bank of Montreal, and you wouldn't have to provide parking, I think. There may be very little, but it's not a requirement of the CBD district. So I think there should be, if that is the way to encourage developers to put buildings in the downtown area, then maybe there should be, like we do with our park system, when a developer builds a subdivision, there should be a payment in lieu of parking that would go to a fund that would eventually have enough money in it to build the parking that is required for those buildings that are being built. So I think there's lots of aspects, but there's economic aspects, but there's obviously the number one aspect of this is the part about the park. We should not be putting a parking garage in our park.
First of all, I just want to give you a list of the parks that we've added in the last 15 years in this city. Kenna Cartwright, Rivers Trail, Geneva Park, Aberdeen Park, slightly less than the size of an 18-hole golf course. I'll listen to you later. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll interrupt you. No, I will listen. I'm here to listen. Sagebrush, Bachelor, Tournament Capital Ranch, 3 times the size of Mac Park. 2 riverfront lots on Lorne Street, 5 or 6 community gardens, 4 dog parks, mountain bike park, a couple more here too, Camel Creek and Dufferin. Total of about 50 hectares of parks that have been added. Do you know that the provincial average for a population of 1,000 people of parkland, provincial average is 2.5. Well, that's developed parks. Doesn't include places like Peterson Creek or Kennecartwright. For us, developed park, we have 4.17 hectares per 1,000 population. I don't see where we're eating away at our park when we're adding that much every single year. We love our parks and they're spectacularly beautiful and they're looked after by a great crew. The park was bought, that space was bought, that Parkade spot was bought for parking. Parking being accepted use in that zone. And it's not the only one that we should have. We're going to have another one, and chances are it won't be huge. There's no big land left, and the developers want to do something more interesting with it than parking. Now, if we ask the business people to pay for that, which they are, by the way, because we've just increased parking meter rates by 50% downtown. That is affecting their customers. They pay 15% tax rate this year. You pay 4.8%. That means that a little business of about 2,000 square feet on Victoria Street will pay $600 a month in taxes. They pay a lot. They pay the bulk of what it costs to build the other 2 parkades. They also had a levy on their businesses for years to build Interior Savings Center. And it was the business people downtown that created what's there with the trees, with the pavers and everything else. I think it's time that we supported business. They need to stay downtown. They don't need any more money put on top of what they're already paying. Nor do we want them to provide parking, or else our whole downtown core would look like Thompson Park Mall. Surface parking is ugly. One of the big trends with urban planning is to get rid of surface planning.
The idea that we have done a great job of adding parkland in the city. I don't disagree with that argument at all. But this is critical for the downtown areas of Riverside Park. Like, the forecasts show that there's going to be incredible density infill just simply because we have reached our borderlines. We're expanding into Aberdeen area, and that's about it. So we're going to be densifying the downtown. So you put more people in a downtown, you're going to need more green space to service those people. You can't just have a concrete city. So that, to me, it's even more important that we're going to need what we have now, and if we possibly can get more green space downtown, then we should be getting it down. But the downtown is the focus. And I'm very in favor of business downtown and want to see the downtown area grow. I mean, I work, live, and play downtown, and so I'm not anti-business downtown by any means. But I just think this is a misguided concept to put it in a park and even to put it across the tracks. So I think it would service the community, and I think we should be working together on this. We had a survey by the city that said 69% of the people objected to this proposal. And here we are today in a situation where we've already spent $300,000 and we're looking at possibly turning the chance of this boring down. And then we have to make another decision. Do we spend another $80,000 rolling the dice that a citywide referendum is going to give the result that the city wants? And if we don't, then we're down $380,000. Like, I just think we should be working together on this, and I think it's pretty clear that the residents of this city do not want to be nibbled, the park to be nibbled away, and especially for a parkade. So on the other issue, another issue is this two-story issue. That's really disappointing for me because I tried to make a motion, there was no seconder. So it could be exactly the original project of a 3-story which blocks the last opening that looks when you drive down Lorne Street at Riverside Park and the river. So the council, depending on who you vote in this time around, could turn around and say we need, at the end of this term or any time, say we need to add the 3rd floor because we're spending another $300,000 building the foundation that can hold the third floor. So we could end up with exactly the original project that people so much objected to. 69% of the people objected to that.